Ballad of Johnny Arcane by Jim Nail, read by Jim Nail, Chapter 8. Return. Ahead and around the grassy hill, king corn came into sight. He felt a quickening in his limbs. Even his fingers tingled as if they yearned for something to grasp. Everything was still and quiet, evening shadows closing in. Faint lamplight glowed from windows. A stratum of fog hung over the meadow and made a halo around the silo. There was no one in sight, but small wisps of smoke curled from some of the houses, and a welcoming plume rose from the chimney of the longhouse. He shoved open the door against the musty warmth of body heat. The place was packed. He recognized a few faces in the dim corn lamp glow. A couple of the hoop girls and the woman who first gave him the messenger's armband. A few heads turned. "It's Arcane," said someone in a muffled voice. He heard his name whispered as he moved through the crowd toward the table where Mayor Birdieman sat gnawing on a chicken bone, one hand around a stein of beer. Birdieman looked older than a man should look after only 5 summers. He was plumper, softer around the middle, and a network of wrinkles branched from his eyes. On his left cheek he still bore the scar of his fall from the silo. "Well, well," said the mayor, eyeing him up and down, neither smiling nor frowning. "If it isn't the long-lost prophet, home from his quest. Sit down, take a load off your feet. We'll get you some food." Johnny dropped his pack. "I'm not a prophet. I'm just a messenger. Remember, you were the one who first set me out." Birdieman waved to a girl with a tray. "Chamomile, look, Johnny Arcane has returned. Bring him some food and some ale." Johnny welcomed the plate of chicken and greens with gusto, but he waved away the ale. Just water, please," he said. From his backpack, he produced a folded bit of parchment. "I came on business. I bring you a message from a person at Hermittown, but she wasn't King Gray Road, and she wasn't one of them." Birdieman took the letter. That be old Darcy Dinkum, then. Poor girl's lived among those fools for so long she's starting to think like them. What she got for me today?" The mayor took a long time reading the message, even though it appeared the words were few. The silence made Johnny uncomfortable. Eventually, Birdieman set down the parchment and stared at Johnny, his face expressionless except for the tiny pictures flickering inside his eyes. Suddenly he seemed to come to his senses, and he threw out his arms as if in expansive gesture. "Well, Johnny Arcane, look around. You'll see King Corn hasn't changed much. Your name is still spoken, but I think many can't recognize you behind that long beard." Johnny nodded. "Do you still have the corn fest?" Oh yes, it's been 2 moons ago, and I'll tell you something. Every fest since you were here, someone has climbed the altar and brought down the honey. Always a different person. It's like you broke the spell, or wove a new one. Oh, I just climbed the sunbeams and held on to the birds, that's all. I showed them how. But where are the musicians? Bearclaw, Ant, Jocko. Well, that's something else. You see, you set in motion. They're on tour. They formed a band. Now they're playing festivals all around the countryside. Tonight they be playing the Alder Ball at Bent Branch. Will they be back here? Within the moon, I think. Ant and Bear Claw married. Now they take young Chestnut on tour with them. Johnny's heart jumped and then settled back into a steady beat. He felt a mixture of sadness and relief. Ant, Bear Claw, married. Chestnut, that be a boy or a girl? Sweet little girl, curly hair. Why you not be drinking the ale? Oh, it's not my friend anymore. It made me do some things I regret. Tell me. His thoughts grew dark. There's a place, a bathhouse, about a day's walk south of here. I spent some time there the summer before I came to Cornfest. And I went back last night. The place is in ruins. What happened? Bear Claw squinched up his mouth as if tasting something unpleasant. Yes, I've heard it had been abandoned. Some folks from King Corn used to go there, Frankie for one, but I never encouraged it. They always came back with strange ideas. But why was it abandoned? Well, some black coats came through here a few summers ago. Black coats? You know, black coats. People say that the black coats are the descendants of the bandits, but I don't shuck much corn with that. There can be bad people without some kind of crazy mythology attached to it. Black coats are just no goods that weren't raised right. What do? They don't do much. They don't bathe, that's for sure. You can tell they're coming before they get here just by the smell. That's why some people think it was the blackcoats that messed up the bathhouse. Johnny felt his heart sink. This conversation was only stirring the trouble in his heart, and he didn't know what to do about it. He would have to change the subject. I think I'd like to take off the armband for a while before someone dispatches me someplace else, he said. I'd like to stay in one place until I find out what's next. Bear Claw eyed him with a wry grin. Or maybe your legs are just worn out from all that walking. There's a room in the back behind the kitchen. It's Jocko's, but you could stay there till they return. Maybe you'll join the band. Maybe that will be Johnny Arcane's next big adventure. Indeed. Johnny found Jocko's room directly behind the long hall kitchen, and well past midnight he could hear the scullery workers scouring the pots and pans on the other side of the clapboard wall. No bed, only a pile of soiled and lumpy pillows. No furniture of any kind, but shallow shelves lined the walls, and on the shelves languished a collection of many small handmade dolls fashioned of corn husks, cloth, woven straw, or carved wood. They were mostly people, a few animals, carefully arranged, some standing, some sitting, some reclining on miniature beds. Some sat at little tables set with tiny plates and bottles. As Johnny examined them, he began to suspect the people dolls were replicas of actual people. He found a little burly man seated on a high-back chair, wearing an odd little cap stitched from the skin of a mouse. Mayors always wore strange hats. And there was Bearclaw sitting with his guitar, Aunt standing behind him with her fiddle, one hand resting on his shoulder. The three straw girls held up a miniature hoop, and on the shelf above a bare-chested man grasped a beehive, his knees bent as if he were about to leap. And in a corner all by itself, Johnny found an image of his own likeness. It was carved from a plug of cedar, but the mandolin itself was constructed out of the abandoned shell of a sow bug. Directly on the wall behind the figure, a flourish of golden sunbeams were painted, and above it, a small flock of birds. Johnny lay on the pile of pillows, his eyes as big as saucers, his mind blazing with thoughts and sub-thoughts, everything tangential to something else, and every memory, every impression connected by tendrils to every other memory and impression. He knew he was not going to sleep tonight. He felt like a fire in a hall of slumbering giants. He felt like the last glowing coal in the darkened ash of a dying campfire.
Johnny Arcane told the truth, or else he held his tongue, but he was rarely